All right, so you know how everyone's talking about AI these days.
Yeah, it's everywhere you look.
But what about like the rules of the game? Who's making sure this powerful tech benefits everyone and not just, a select few?
Right, right.
That's exactly what we're diving into today, global AI governance. We're going deep on a recent UN report, and let me tell you, this is not your average dry policy document.
It's actually a really interesting read.
Seriously, it's got this really cool mix of big picture thinking and practical recommendations.
Yeah, and it brings together a whole bunch of voices.
Hmm.
Governments, academics, industry leaders.
All those different perspectives trying to figure out how to govern this tech that's changing faster than, well,
Faster than almost anything.
pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. And the report doesn't shy away from that. It dives headfirst into both the incredible potential upsides of AI and the very real risks.
The opportunities and the potential pitfalls. Let's start with the positive stuff. What kind of impact are we talking about here?
Well, the report really zeroes in on how AI could be a total game changer for tackling some of the biggest problems humanity's facing. Like, imagine a world where AI helps us figure out how to ensure everyone on the planet has enough to eat.
Wait, AI tackling world hunger. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. How would that even work?
It's already starting to happen. We're seeing AI being used for things like precision agriculture. So picture this. AI analyzing mountains of data about everything from soil conditions and weather patterns to the health of individual plants.
Okay, so it's like giving farmers a superpowered set of tools to make decisions.
Exactly. AI can help them optimize their yields like never before, which means we can produce more food with less waste.
That's incredible. What other breakthroughs does the report highlight?
Oh, tons. In healthcare, we're talking about AI being used to develop personalized treatments tailored to a patient's unique genes.
So medicine designed specifically for you.
Exactly. And in education, there are AI-powered tutoring systems that can help students learn at their own pace, catering to their individual strengths and weaknesses.
It's pretty cool. It seems like the possibilities are almost endless.
The potential is definitely there.
But the report doesn't just focus on the sunny side, right? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the downsides of AI as well.
Absolutely, and the report addresses those concerns head on. But it does it in a really interesting way. Instead of just listing out every possible thing that could go wrong, it frames things in terms of vulnerability.
Vulnerability, what do you mean by that?
So instead of saying AI is bad, it asks, AI could be bad for whom and in what ways? It digs into who's most vulnerable to the potential downsides of AI.
So it's about understanding the specific ways AI could impact different groups of people.
Precisely. And the report identifies a few key areas of vulnerability.
Okay, so let's break those down. What are those areas?
Well, first you have individuals and communities.
Hmm.
Some groups, like kids, the elderly, or marginalized communities, might be more likely to experience things like algorithmic bias.
Right, because AI systems are only as good as the data we feed them.
Exactly. And if the data reflects existing biases, those biases get baked into the AI.
And then you have societal values that could be vulnerable, right?
Exactly. Things like democracy, privacy, human rights, all of those could be impacted in ways we need to be really thoughtful about.
And finally, there's the vulnerability of, well, our systems. What does that mean exactly?
It's about the potential impact on critical things like our power grids, our financial systems, even our democratic elections.
Because those systems are becoming increasingly reliant on technology.
Exactly. And that makes them potential targets for things like cyber attacks or manipulation powered by AI.
So the report is basically saying, hey, we can't just think about AI in a vacuum. We have to think about how it interacts with the real world.
Exactly. And by understanding these different layers of vulnerability, we can start figuring out strategies to actually mitigate those risks.
So we're talking about anticipating potential problems before they blow up into major crises.
Exactly. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say.
But it's not all doom and gloom, is it?
Mhm.
The report also highlighted some really exciting opportunities, like, for instance, the use of AI in astronomy is transforming our understanding of the universe. Tell me more about that.
Oh, right. The report did mention something about AI in astronomy. What's the connection there?
Oh, it's revolutionizing the entire field. Take the Square Kilometer Array, for example. It's this absolutely massive radio telescope project spanning entire continents. And it's generating an unbelievable amount of data.
Okay, hold on. How massive are we talking here? And what kind of data? We're talking about the biggest radio telescope ever built. And the data. It's like listening to the whispers of the early universe, signals from the first stars and galaxies, potentially even clues about how the universe itself began.
Wow, that's some seriously mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
But how does AI even come to play with all of that?
Well, analyzing that much data would be practically impossible for humans to do on their own.
Yeah, it would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack the size of a planet.
That's a great way to put it. But AI, it can handle these massive data sets like a champ. It can find patterns and anomalies that humans might completely miss. It's like having a super-powered research assistant helping us unlock the secrets of the cosmos.
So AI is literally helping us explore the universe in ways we never could before. That's incredible. But let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the benefits, the risks, but what about solutions? What does the report recommend we do about all of this?
So the report doesn't just lay out all these challenges, it actually offers some concrete steps we can take to address them. 7 of them, to be precise.
7. Okay, that's a pretty solid number. Manageable, but I'm guessing each one's pretty important. Where do we even begin?
It all starts with knowledge. The first recommendation is to create something called an International Scientific Panel on AI. You can think of it like a global team of experts on everything AI.
So a dedicated group whose job it is to provide unbiased, accurate info about what AI can and can't do, where it's headed, all of that.
You got it. They would be responsible for cutting through all the hype and giving us the straight facts about AI, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
So kind of like a reality check on all the AI hype we're constantly bombarded with.
Exactly. Because to make smart decisions about AI, we need to have a shared understanding of the science behind it. And that's where the second recommendation comes in creating a global forum for AI policy dialogue.
Okay, so we've got the experts, they're giving us the knowledge, and then we need a space where policymakers and others can actually discuss what to do with that knowledge.
Exactly. A place where different countries can come together, share their concerns, and try to find common ground on how to govern AI.
And this forum wouldn't just be for government folks, right? I mean, we were talking earlier about how AI impacts everyone.
Absolutely. It would include people from all walks of life, representatives from civil society, the tech industry, academics. All those different voices are needed to make sure AI governance really works for everyone.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got the knowledge base, we've got the dialogue. What's next?
Recommendation number 3 is all about the nuts and bolts of how we build AI. We need standards. Specifically, the report calls for setting up a global AI standards exchange.
Standards, huh? Okay, I admit it doesn't sound quite as exciting as, say, exploring the universe with AI. But I know they're important.
They really are. Think of them as the rules of the road for AI, making sure that AI systems are developed and used responsibly, safely, and ethically.
So things like data security, transparency, making sure algorithms aren't biased, all of that would fall under AI standards.
Exactly. If we can agree on global standards, it'll be much easier to prevent problems down the road and make sure AI benefits everyone.
Okay, I see how these recommendations build on each other, creating this kind of shared language, a common set of values for how we develop and govern AI on a global scale.
Precisely. And that leads us to recommendation number 4, capacity building. The report really stresses the importance of creating a global network for AI capacity development.
So making sure everyone has the knowledge and skills they need to participate in the AI revolution, not just a select few.
That's the idea. Imagine a global network of universities, research centers, training programs, all dedicated to AI.
It would really level the playing field.
Exactly. It would allow countries that might not have as many resources to catch up and contribute to the field.
Makes a lot of sense. But even with the knowledge and skills, you need funding, right?
Exactly. And that's where recommendation number 5 comes in. It calls for the creation of a global fund for AI.
A global investment fund, but specifically for AI.
Yes. The idea is to provide financial support for AI research and development, especially in communities that haven't traditionally had access to these technologies.
It's like we were saying earlier, making sure the benefits of AI are shared widely and that everyone has a chance to participate in shaping this technology.
Right. And this kind of global collaboration, it's been done before for other issues.
It reminds me of some of the global health initiatives that have been really successful. Like when we pool our resources and work together, we can accomplish some pretty amazing things.
Exactly. Think about the eradication of smallpox. That was a massive global effort, and it worked because everyone came together.
And now we're talking about applying that same collaborative spirit to AI, because this isn't something any one country or company can handle alone, I think.
Exactly. And that brings us to recommendation number 6, which focuses on another critical resource for AI development data.
Data. What does the report say about that?
It calls for creating a global AI data framework.
Okay, a data framework. What does that even mean?
It recognizes that data is the fuel that powers AI. But right now, access to data is really unequal.
Some countries and companies have a ton of it, others have very little.
Exactly. So this framework would promote responsible data sharing, making sure data is used ethically, respecting privacy, all of that.
So how do you actually make that happen? Sharing data across borders while still protecting privacy, intellectual property, that seems like a huge challenge.
It's a huge challenge, but the report argues that we have to get it right. Because if a few powerful players end up controlling all the data, it could make existing inequalities even worse.
Right, right. So we've got the knowledge base, the forum for dialogue, the standards, capacity building, funding, and a data framework. What's the final piece of the puzzle? So we've talked about a lot. Knowledge sharing, global dialogue, setting standards, capacity building, funding, data governance. What's the 7th recommendation? The final piece of the puzzle.
This last one is all about bringing everything together, making sure it all works. The report really emphasizes how important it is to have strong coordination within the UN itself.
That makes sense. We don't want a bunch of different UN groups all doing their own thing on AI, right?
Exactly. We need a more unified approach. And that's why the report suggests establishing a dedicated AI office within the UN Secretariat.
So kind of like a central hub for all things AI within the UN.
Exactly. This office would be in charge of coordinating all those different initiatives we've been talking about.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's the scientific panel, the policy forum, the standards exchange, the capacity building network, the global fund, the data framework.
Everything. All of it.
Wow, that's a lot. But if we want to actually see some progress on AI governance globally, it sounds crucial.
It really is. Even with the best intentions in the world, things can get lost in the mix without strong coordination.
Yeah, you need someone keeping track of everything.
Exactly. This AI office would help streamline all these different efforts, track progress, make sure everyone's on the same page, working towards the same goals.
Kind of like, when you have an orchestra, you need someone, a conductor, to make sure all the different musicians are working in sync.
That's a great analogy. And in this case, the harmonious sound we're aiming for is a future where AI benefits everyone.
I like that. A future where AI benefits everyone. That's really what it's all about. This report, it isn't just some idealistic wish list, right? It's a call to action.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we have a choice to make. We can either bury our heads in the sand and hope for the best, or we can be proactive, shape the future we want to see.
And that's a responsibility that falls on all of us. Governments, tech companies, researchers, even everyday citizens, we all have a role to play.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what are you going to be thinking about? What really stuck with you from this report?
For me, it's the emphasis on global collaboration. This isn't a challenge that any one country, any one company can solve on its own. We need everyone at the table working together if we want to make sure AI is a force for good in the world. And that's a message I find incredibly hopeful, actually.
It really drives home the point that we're all in this together. The decisions we make today about AI, they're going to have ripple effects for years, decades to come. So let's make sure we choose wisely.